in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving higher.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 204. This edition is brought to you by TractorZoom delivering insights. Aaron, if you wanted to go find a place where you could get all the auction data you were looking for in one easy-to-use place, where would you go?
Besides my brain.
Besides your brain.
Then it would have to be TractorZoom.
Would you look in iron comps?
I would. I was just going to say probably the ideal thing to do would be to pull up iron comps, get all the information you could possibly want.
Yep. And let's just say you decided you wanted to go ahead and get this iron comps thing. What would you put in at checkout to get a discount?
I would use the moving iron code.
There you go. That's my boy right there. You're my boy, Blue.
Woo!
You're my boy. All right. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is going to be an exciting one because we have a fair amount of things to talk about, especially one of which is where's the economy at right now. And although this week's been a rough week in the commodity marketplace, stuff is still selling. It's a fair statement, Aaron?
Yes. In the broadest stroke possible, yes.
I like how you had that pause there for dramatic effect.
I did.
There for a while, I was like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe things aren't selling good.
But you have to keep in mind, in my world, selling good is today.
Well, that's called sales.
Yesterday's over. Selling good? Yes. Have I sold anything today? No.
If we're selling a planter or marshmallows, sales is what you've done for me today lately type of thing. So
A planter and marshmallows.
doesn't matter. It's what have you done for me lately.
Right.
There
There you
you go. Good. Well,
thanks for being the hero yesterday. You haven't done shit today.
that's exactly right.
Go wash that combine, boy.
What do you sell today? Nothing. All right. Well, you're getting closer to being fired every day.
Here's a box.
If you sell something, you can turn it back in. All right. One of my favorite things to get in the mail is the quarterly Solvent Auctioneers auction book. It's like Christmas, you know.
It is.
When I heard out by the mailbox that I was getting closer to, I could hear jingles. Jingling of bells. And I thought, yes, it's here. I can sit back and I can enjoy the greatness of what's coming up on the auction. So, let's have an auction. This is my favorite thing on the planet to look at because you get a very good look at two things. One is what's obviously going to be in the auction block. The second thing is you start to look and see how much is going to be on the auction.
How much of what kind?
Exactly.
And where at?
Exactly.
That's the other portion.
Yep. And with the new with this COVID thing and everything we got going on here, this timed auction thing on the internet is becoming a bigger deal, right?
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, I miss the live auctions more than anything else.
I miss the evenings of live auctions more than anything.
Yes, those were
right. Not so much the mornings.
Yeah.
The free sandwich at noon. Mm-hmm. Big fan.
Big fan. Of
the
that.
evening.
The evening was
networking.
Getting to see people. Typically, about a billion used equipment people descend on a site just to be, more spectators than buyers.
Right.
For a lot of anything else. So, a lot of free sandwiches get handed out to guys that are just there to see what's happening.
There you have it. A veritable who's who.
Yep. You can spot a used equipment guy at an auction.
Has his hand in his pockets.
That and he also has bib overalls that aren't dirty.
Oh, there you go.
Good times. Good times. All right, so flipping through this book, a lot of good stuff in here.
Better grab my Carhartts. They're still got tags on them, folded up in the closet.
Your the size sticker's still down the legs. I'm gonna take that off.
I'm going to throw these in the back of the pickup on the way to the airport. Hope they get dirty.
Where's that wire brush at when you need it? So you've got one of the biggest things here in this book is Ag Pro's having another auction, a very big auction. It's going to be
girthy.
The Ohio, Georgia, Alabama, and Florida auction is going to be February 23rd. Starts at 10 o'clock. That's when starts closing. There's over 100 tractors on this deal, and they range from a 9620 RX all the way down to a 5065E. I don't know. That's a little bigger. So then you got a couple New Hollands and a case in there. So pretty big selection. Other big selection here are sprayers, and they did the exact switch that they did from last time. There's only 6 combines on here. I think the last time this came out, there was 86 combines-ish on here, and about 4 tractors. So
However,
they've done a 180.
if you page forward a little more, the other big participants from last year's auctions, Van Wall,
Yes. So that's my.
they are making up for the combine selection.
Yeah, there's some combines in there. So, what is your? Where's the? There she is.
30 combines, 15 heads,
Yep.
15 guys with gloves and a knife.
Yep. That's about right. That's about right. You've got these 2 auctions. You take a look at them. What's your thoughts right now? So going into this, this one is the 22nd.
It's going to be interesting
Of January.
because
Which I guess
with the bulk of the tractors and stuff being from AgPro Southern Territory, it's going to be interesting to see how that affects them. Are they going to be, which a Southern tractor typically brings less? Are they going to do that? Are they going to be propped up by cash in pockets? It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think the Van Wall combines is going to be combines at auction.
Well, yeah, I mean, and if you look at what they've got here, they've got 2 7 Series combines, and the rest of the stuff are all your 600s and 70s. There's
Right.
a couple 60s in there, but for the most part, it's the 12, 13, 14 model stuff in that hour range we talk about all the time on here, that 1,000 to 1,500 hour range machine. So there's going to be some. There are some on the Van Wall deal, though. Ironically, there's a couple 9770s in here that I think would be worth watching. There's one in here that's got 1,950 hours on it. It's a 2011, and it's 2-wheel drive.
Oh.
The other one, the 2010's got almost 2,500 hours on it, and it's got 4-wheel drive. So I think those 2 machines, as that popularity of that particular machine has, I don't know if I want to say skyrocketed, but it seems like to me that there is a fair amount of demand for that specific machine. Because, like we've talked about a million times, there's this machine here with 1,700 hours on it. There's a lot of these 670, 680s that someone's going to be like, well, if they got the same hours on them, I'll probably just take the 70 to some extent.
To some extent, that the 70 series heat has cooled off a hell of a lot, though. There's still going to be guys that are going to be there for those combines.
Yep.
But they are, and I've noticed it a lot last year, the 70 love affair is cooling off a hell of a lot, and that's just because the 600s are so damn cheap.
It's got cheap.
That at some point, I've got a custom cutter who, I mean, he still has a couple 60 series in the herd. Never, ever wanted to own an S. And 2 weeks ago on the phone we were talking, and he says, well, I think the time has come. We're going to have to get into the S6s.
Yep.
And I said, thank God, because now I can sell you some combines, because the Lord knows we got them.
Yep. There's those. That's a
And he's not alone. There's a lot of farmers. I did a couple combine deals this fall with guys, sold them late model 680s that had a herd of 9770s, a fleet.
Yeah.
Because we had one. It was our combine. We bought another one at auction, and then they got cheap, and we bought a third.
Yep. What do you think this? So I'm looking at this one here. So there is items located near Reynolds. This is it doesn't say whose it is. Oh, here you go. The Randy Murdoch estate. I've been trying to convince my wife that we need to get a motorhome.
Oh, damn, yes. Absolutely.
And someday
a diesel pusher.
Sometimes she's on the fence.
Ooh, you got her that close?
Yeah, and depending on the day or what shenanigans I've pulled during that day, really depends widely on what side of the fence she's on.
I can only imagine that.
So I think that there's a great opportunity, maybe, to see what that one brings, because that's a nice looking one.
That is a sweetie. That is absolutely accurate.
Okay, so let's jump back over here and let's talk about this Ag Pro one again a little further. There's this thing about Southern tractors that I've never quite figured out why they're not. I mean, I think to me, these tractors are low-hour tractors. They're what they are. Sometimes a spec here and there might throw people for a loop, but it's still, machines like there's one in here. Like here's a 2018 with 8295R for 515 hours on it. There's another 16 with 800 hours on it. A lot of these tractors have under 2,500 hours on them. I got to think in today's marketplace for that guy that's looking to go from that 5,000 or 6,000 hour tractor that wants to jump into something like this, I think these are going to be a very attractive sell because of what it is.
Absolutely. That's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah, they're, the bulk of them is probably Southern tractors. Mm-hmm. They're late enough in age, low enough in hours. I don't think that's going to matter, and I think they're going to be propped up pretty strong if I was a betting man.
I totally agree with you. I think these are going to bring some money that I think are going to shock people because first thing when someone sees an auction, like, holy crap, there's 100 tractors on there. Well, I can tell you right now, of what this mix looks like, I would be shocked if it was anything other than spectacular, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And those guys, we know the guys at Ag Pro, right, and they're good guys. Mm-hmm. So they, when they put that mix together, just like we do, they sat there and, sprinkle this, sprinkle this, sprinkle this, and you got a hell of a nice, huge, and diverse selection.
Yep.
Something for everybody, as we like to say.
Yep. Not discriminating against anyone. So what do you think about sprayers right now? When you're looking at what's going on here. So if you take a look at, let's talk about 30 series sprayers. I know last week we spent some time talking about sprayers and those kind of things, but we didn't really spend a lot of time on...
We talked about the tech of sprayers, which would not be the 30 series sprayers.
No, so let's talk about 30 series sprayers for a minute. When you start looking at sprayers, especially 30 series sprayers, or sprayers in general, because, hell, we've got them all over the board, right? As far as hours go, where's that hour range at when you look at a sprayer? Where did you start seeing, where's that first jumping off point? Where's that second? Where's that third jumping off point as far as hours go?
The first one, and this is going to be very specific to us because we do put some hours on sprayers. I'm going to skip the 500, go all the way to 1,000.
I'm right there with you.
1,000 is the first mark. And then I would say 2. It doesn't feel like within our AOR that we have a lot of discrimination, whether it's 13 or 1,800 hours. They both sell really well. That 1,000 to 2,000 mark is great. And then I think you throw over 2 in the same bucket as up to 5.
Yeah. I was going to say...
You do get some splitting hairs there. Well, we really want to be under 3.
Yeah.
Kind of get a budget price, but not have a boatload of hours.
Right.
And then you get guys, which I'm surprised, you couldn't give those hours away on a combine.
Oh, no.
But on a sprayer... And I've seen 5,000 hour combines that need a hell of a lot less work than 5,000 hour sprayers.
Right.
Big time.
I think the one
But
thing...
those sprayers will still sell.
Yeah.
But you got to keep in mind there, you don't have anybody threshing by hand to come by that beat to shit steaming pile of S670 with 5,000 hours.
Right.
But you got a hell of a lot of guys with 3-point booms, pull-type sprayers, all that are going to go buy that 5,000 hour 4930, and they're tickled shitless with it.
Right. Well,
because it's not a damn pull-type sprayer.
Well, that and it's the same. It's competitive with the new pull-type sprayer within reason. You're within 25,000.
Right.
Pull-type
Sometimes
sprayer.
the same price.
To me, when you're talking about the hour thing, when I look at that, I think if you're going to run it to 2,000, you're going to run past 2,000 hours, you might as well run it to 3,500 and trade it in. That, to me, is that third jumping off point. And then, like you, I would say that 3,500 hours and up is all just one giant bucket.
So you're saying skip 2.
No, I'm saying like 1,000 hours.
Right.
Somewhere between 750 and 1,250 is your first jumping off
right.
point. And then your next jumping off point to me would be somewhere between 1,850 and like 2,500.
Okay.
And if you're going to go past that, run to 3,500 hours and then jump off up there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You could probably fudge the 2 mark to 25.
Yeah.
Quite honestly.
Yep.
Well, think about it. Our first line goes up to 12.
Right.
So it's only natural that the second line would go up to 25 because you just doubled your first line.
Yeah, makes sense. So I think if you have, when you're looking at the hour range on sprayers, to me it makes a lot more sense and a lot more. The thing about a sprayer that I think people take into consideration subconsciously but never really take into account when they're buying it is the spray hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they got this 1,900 hour sprayer, right? But it's only got 600 spray hours on it because it's a Sunday driver most days. Going, I mean, the road time and just the idle time, field time, those kind of things.
Exactly.
There's a ton of hours that just get put on a machine that aren't at work.
Right.
You know. So I think there's some
very big on sprayers.
Because everyone, I mean, when I'm selling a sprayer to somebody, they ask me, "Well, how many spray hours does it have on it?" Well, it's got 600, but it's got 1,900 engine hours. Like, oh God, 1,900 hours on it, huh? You're not really concerned about the actual engine hours per se as you are the actual system machine hours.
Right, right.
But since it
to a certain degree,
right,
you still got engine and wheel motors and hydro, but
right. It's a different kind of
You basically have 2 separate complete concerns with that machine, whereas combine you could have 2 separate complete concerns, but everybody's just always worried about maintenance on a combine, regardless of what color, regardless of what size, what age. So that's a different way of looking at it, I guess, there too. So
yep. So I think there's a fair amount of folks there that are doing. You know, one other thing I've noticed about these auctions here of late, on these ag auctions that I've seen more and more pop up here, and maybe because it's retirement sales and estate sales and stuff like that, but the amount of construction equipment that are showing up on these, not just skid steers, but dozers, excavators, those kind of things that are, you see a lot more of this kind of action hitting
absolutely
than I've seen in the past. You know, there's
but not flooding it, just enough of a trickle that it keeps everybody pretty fired up about them.
Yep, just enough of a tickle to make you giggle. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Not enough to make you laugh.
That's probably my favorite auction in here.
Klein Harvesting. How many they got here?
Make it cleaner with Gleaner.
I know who they are. I've heard of them.
You should. They're from Sassenach.
Yeah. They are from there. So, if you were to take a look, you know what else is on here quite a bit? A lot more tillage stuff is showing up.
Yeah.
There for the longest time, you didn't see hardly any tillage on here.
Right.
Now they're seeing more and more tillage kind of pop in there. So, right on. All right, so I do miss the live sales. Oh, Colonel Dan Sullivan, he puts on a pretty good show.
Absolutely.
I miss that stuff. So
he is a show man.
Yes, he is. He is. So next time, first time you have a live auction, Dan, Aaron, and I are going to come out there and see you again.
There you go.
All right, buddy. Well, I think that wraps this one up. Anything else you want to throw on this auction / sprayer talk that we got going on here?
Man, nothing I can think of.
Right on. All right, so now it's time for the anticipated, much waited for, Aaron Fintel Deal of the Week.
Woo! Okay.
Highly anticipated.
Highly anticipated. As we're talking about that 1,000 to 2,000 hour tractor, just happen to have one here.
Shocker.
Wow. 2018 John Deere 8345R, 1,200 hours. A little bit under 1,200 hours. ILS, IVT, front duals, weighted up, dual hydraulic pump, leather cab, LED lights, all the goodies.
Yeah.
Built like it should be.
$299.
You would think so, but not today. $265.
Shut your mouth.
$265. Sweep the ring. Take them all.
Take
Hell of a nice tractor. You'd be very, very pleased with this rig. I did say it has dual pump, right?
I think you did.
Okay, that's pretty damn
And if
important.
you did say it
I
now.
did now.
So there you go.
It's covered.
All
Dual
covered
pump,
up.
5 remotes, my
There you
man.
go. 5 remotes.
5.
Get out of here.
I know.
No wonder you need a dual pump when you have 5 implements plugged into that thing.
There you go.
Right on. All right, so we were talking about this the other day, you and I.
Yep.
So when I was just a wee lad,
A wee lad.
my dad sold oil field chemicals, still sells oil field chemicals. So he's for the longest time, their company vehicles were red Caprice Classics with tan interiors.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. And
Tan velour.
yes,
Interior.
they were
Like, they don't even make couches as soft as those car seats used
They
to
were
be.
amazing. They were
God
wonderful.
forbid you have to adjust while you're sitting there,
Yep.
because your clothes are going to get all twisted
Yep.
up, but you're going to be comfy.
So he had that vehicle. Then he had a couple trucks in the way, but one year it just happened to get his rotation of company vehicles, and it was the new edition when they went away from the square body style Chevy pickup to the rounded
1988.
1988, and that was the in '87 they had flirted with the idea of going fully fuel injected, but they had
Correct.
this throttle body fuel injection had a kid thing going on, and then they went into this full-fledged electronically fuel injected engine, and that was that's right.
No,
What was it?
they're the exact same engine all the way to 94.
I understand that, but there was just that's when because EFI was like the big thing.
87, last
Right.
year's square body,
Right. That
had
was
the
the big
EFI.
That was, but
The little silver plate on the tailgate, electronic fuel injection.
right. But the point that was the big selling point for the '88. Like they were like, do you know how to in '88 we had this electronic fuel injected engine.
Well, that was kind of a bypass
Yeah.
because in '88 that was the first time since '73 it was a whole new pickup,
Right.
with independent front suspension,
Yes, it
ladies
was.
and gentlemen.
And it was super sexy. So anyway, my dad gets this truck, and it was also the first year that they had the extended cab.
Yes,
And
correct.
that was the big thing because you got the extended cab.
Hell yeah.
And it was the coolest thing on the planet. So I remember my brother.
Never mind, Ford and Dodge had it for 20
Yeah.
plus years.
Yeah. So they get this thing, and it wasn't like a bench seat in the back. It had like 2 jumper seats. That
Oh, yeah.
set like on the side,
Facing each other.
Yeah, facing
Yep.
each other, which we thought was pretty cool. Till we went on a trip, and then you realized, I got to stare at my brother
Yeah.
for the next hour and a half or however far we're going, and that sucked. The long story short was that was the truck that I remember the most because it had a 5-speed transmission, manual transmission, with a posi tracker in, and it was a long bed with the extended cab,
Right.
3/4 ton pickup, and it would literally go anywhere that it wanted to go.
Yeah.
It never got stuck.
4-wheel drive?
I don't ever remember my dad getting that thing stuck on an Elise road anywhere.
Was it a 4-wheel drive?
No, it was
I
just
didn't
a
think
posi.
so.
Just a posi.
It had to have been white.
No, it was red.
Oh, it was? Yeah, you
Yeah.
did say red.
Red.
That's
with red
weird.
interior.
A pickup from the oil field that's not white?
That's before then. That's before white trucks were a thing.
That's before
Yeah.
every pickup south of Nebraska was white.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that the other day, and that was a wicked cool truck because at the time when my dad got that truck in our little town that we lived in, he was the first guy to get his delivered before all the farmers got theirs.
Oh,
His came in
badass.
first. So there for a minute, he was the only guy that had that truck in town.
Right on.
1988.
God, those are good pickups, too.
Yeah, they
88 to 98 Chevy GMC.
Yep. For the longest time, that was the
Talk your shit. What's your
No, man.
shit talk about that series of pickup all the time?
up until about 1995, 96. That was my favorite. I was a Chevy guy through and through.
Right.
Like I had the badass bow tie for the longest time tattooed on my chest.
Absolutely.
And then they had to glue the doors on.
They did that in 88. The pickup you loved having the glues stored on, friend.
Well, that's when I
Who
figured-
gives a shit?
That's when I figured it out. And it's
Other
just-
people glue on door hinges too. They do it with welding rod.
Yeah,
So
well-
you use liquid nails or welding rod.
It's just one of those things. It's just the idea of it.
It's light.
Never set well with me.
That's how the Chevy gets better mileage than a Ford. It's lighter. Back then. Because you didn't have that welding rod around the hinges. They just Gorilla Glued that damn thing on.
I guess so.
Simple.
I guess so.
You know what I thought was so cool? You controlled the radio up here by the steering wheel, but the brains of the radio are up under, they're like up under, above the hump, up under the dash. Yeah. Crazy.
So my dad still had the analog phone.
Right.
It was like the base phone. Like It had like the metal stand that came up and you could like hook the phone into it. And he still had that, and that thing would, it was rigged, the horn would honk every time it would ring.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, somehow, and I don't know.
They probably set it up that way, so if you're out of the pickup, you know your phone's ringing.
So I remember, like, on a Saturday afternoon, we'd be out mowing the grass where my dad's like, nonstop.
Dude, that is awesome.
So that was...
Oh, shit.
That was good times.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. And the old analog phone, honestly, God truth, no matter where you're at, you get service.
I wish you still had them.
You can't... I mean, anywhere.
Analog phone with an external magnet mount antenna. Yep. Go to the moon, man.
Yep. And the cool thing about that was each phone call was $1.50.
Right.
Per minute. You know, I never seen people speed talk more than in my life. They were almost talking in shorthand, trying to get that conversation done quick. They were talking in emojis before emojis.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean?
LOL. Right on. Okay. All right. Well, I think
we're going to Walmart. JSUK.
Right on. All right. Well, I think we got this one, man.
I think we did.
All right, buddy.
We stomped on her. The fire's out.
If people wanted to get a hold of you to get a hold of that deal of the day, what's the best way to do that?
Well, I'm pretty active on the Twitterverse at Aaron, AARON, Fintel, F as in Frank, INTEL, or call me or text me, text preferred, 308-760-1193.
Outstanding. If you want to get a hold of me, go to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and use the handle Moving Iron LLC, and that'll just directly to me, and I'll find it, and then I'll respond to you with whatever question you might have, or
perhaps a lighthearted limerick.
Could be anything. You know, I'll exchange with you however you wish. You can also send me an email at MovingIronPodcast@MovingIronPodcast.com. You can also go to the Moving Iron LLC website, and if you haven't seen what Aaron Fennell looks like, which once you've seen what he looks like, you're going to understand why we quit doing video. So just throwing that out there. But
true story.
If you go to MovingIronLLC.com, go to Moving Iron Podcast, and you'll see Moving Iron Podcast contributors, and you'll see myself, my bio, Aaron and his bio. You'll see Rich Poston and his bio, and you'll see the newest member of the Moving Iron Podcast team, Jaclyn Krymowski. Sorry, Jaclyn, I just butchered your name there. I apologize about that. But you'll see all of us in there, and Jaclyn's coming on, and she's going to kind of be our man on the street, our gal on the street out there that's going to be giving us the ag news that you don't get typically on the Moving Iron Podcast. But I think I'm going to like this and where we're going with this. So
it's going to be a fantastic sprinklet.
It is. It's going to be a nice little nugget for you to enjoy on your way to wherever you're headed, checking sprinklers or whatever you're doing. If you're checking sprinklers now, you got a big problem. But
no, preseason maintenance.
Preseason maintenance. If you had the windstorms that we had over the last couple of weeks, you could be trying to set your sprinkler back up.
That's accurate.
So, anyway. So with that being said, I am Casey Seymour with Aaron Fintel. Let's go move some iron, folks. Out. Hello and welcome to the Moving Iron Podcast. Today I have a special guest with me, and she is going to be a contributor to the Moving Iron Podcast. I'm super excited about that. Her name is Jaclyn Krymowski, and she is a writer, a journalist, and a communication specialist with the Herd Books. If you go over to MovingIronLLC.com and go to Moving Iron Podcast and look at contributors, you'll see Jaclyn's pretty face and all of her amazing information she has to put out there about who she is and what she's doing. But I wanted to get her on the podcast so we could talk a little bit about her background, who she is, and kind of introduce her to everybody so we could get to know her a little bit. Jaclyn is going to be primarily giving us some ag news on what's going on, and we're gonna get that into the podcast every week. And she's going to hopefully give me some stuff that I don't already know, which is not going to be hard for you to do, Jaclyn. So welcome to the show. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Casey?
I'm doing great. Well, Jaclyn, I really appreciate this collaboration that we're going to be working together on, and how we're going to kind of grow this thing and make this thing into something fun and exciting. So give us a little background about who you are and what you do and how you got to this point in your life.
Yeah, so I graduated from The Ohio State University back in 2018. My major is in agriculture science, but the route I took specifically was in animal industries. So I never wanted to be a vet. Everyone always says, "Oh, are you one of those vet school wannabes that didn't make the cut?" And I said, no, I never wanted to wake up at 3 a.m. to take care of animals for ungrateful clients.
Right. Yeah.
So, but that kind of led me to, after I was out of school, I did a little bit of work in the dairy industry. I have a minor in communications.
Okay.
And so with that, I did a little bit of communications work. Worked for a breed association. I worked for a stud company. And at the same time, I was also working on my freelance business as well. I first got my foot in the door. I did my internship with Progressive Publishing, who does progressive cattle, progressive dairy, and progressive forage. And since then, I kind of just had the freelance as a side hustle going, but it was last year, towards the end of the year, middle of a pandemic, of course, I decided that I was just ready to go out on that limb and make the move to doing what I do now full time. And so since then, I've really expanded. Instead of just doing publications for different facets of agribusiness, I've also done a lot of work for specific businesses on case studies or social media content. I do letters that go out to memberships, miscellaneous things like that I always tell my clients. It's like whatever has been on your wish list that you can't get to and you really wish someone on your team was freed up to write this or do this project, that's kind of where I come in.
Right on. All right, so talk a little bit about the herd book and what that is.
Yeah, so I launched the Herd Book primarily as a blog back in either late 2017, early 2018. And as I was kind of doing my freelance writing on the side, I wanted to start kind of just blogging and sharing some of my perspectives on agriculture from the perspective of someone who was actively involved in ag. Obviously, I'd gone to college. I was working in the field, but I don't necessarily have a home farm of my own to go back to. So I kind of wanted to have my somewhat unbiased opinion on certain issues from that perspective, as well as kind of just share some of the trial and error, how I moved my career along and ultimately got where I am today. And kind of since then, now that website has grown and it also serves as my portfolio. I started a newsletter recently people can go ahead and sign up for. And it's kind of like my little corner of the internet where I'm still sharing my story, my insights, covering a little bit of news. But also just has a nice place for clients and potential clients to land and just learn a little more about me and what I do as a communicator.
Right on. Okay. So when you growing up, did you grow up on a family farm? Did you grow up around agriculture, or is this something that, like me, you just kind of fell into?
For a little bit of both, I want to say. The big thing that got my foot in the door to really get a taste of what ag is like in the real world was through 4-H.
Okay.
We had a couple of acres growing up, and we did just about everything we could. We had poultry, we had chickens, we had goats. Goats I got really big into. We had a couple of steers. I had a pony. Everything. My sister did rabbits. It was like a whole big family affair. And so it was pretty easy for me by the time I got into high school that I knew that ag was definitely where I wanted to be. I just kind of was tasked with the challenge of finding what that would look like for someone like me. Because especially when you're like me and you walk right into an ag school, it's really easy to get intimidated because a lot of people, I want to say they have it all figured out, but a lot of them more think they have it all figured out, whether it's going to the family farm or, interning with someone close to home, sort of things like that. So, it was kind of like something that it was progressive for me to really find my place. But it's also kind of one of those just innate passions that I had always had, and I was very fortunate I was able to develop that when I was young and growing up.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I go to the herd book, and I'm gonna read some of your stuff, or the kind of stuff we're gonna collaborate on together. What can listeners expect to hear from Jaclyn Krymowski?
Yeah. So as someone who works very actively in the agriculture communications and media sphere, a chunk of my job is going through newsletters, reading headlines, reading other authors' stories, sharing those, and also kind of weighing in my 2 cents to give people some perspective on some things or allow them to develop their own. So for me, I definitely like getting those headlines that has the why factor behind it. Like, why should producers care? How is this going to impact you? Because I know, no one really cares about the woes of some of these massive agribusinesses and corporations. But at the end of the day, everything trickles down to our individual farmers as well, that are essentially, for better or for worse, we're all very interwoven and connected as an ag community. And some of that, too, is global issues that are going on as well that are some things to just be worth keeping an eye on. I know really recently there was deal with Russia, and so I can't remember the headline now. That was one of the things on my radar I wanted to talk about with the deal with Russia and their move in the soybean industry. Mm-hmm. China always has stuff going on. So just things like that producers should care about.
Yep. Yeah, that's one thing I try to do with on the commodity side of my report when I do that is just I will try to focus on what's going on. That's going to be that's kind of driving what the markets are thinking. And obviously it sounds like what you got there and what I've read is a lot of that information as well too. So, well, Jaclyn, I look forward to working with you, and I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to having another person to help me along in the journey here that I'm on. So I appreciate you being part of the podcast.
Yeah, likewise, Casey. I'm really happy to be here.
Right on. So if people want to reach out to you, Jaclyn, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, the best way, my website, which you're going to link on yours, is the THE-herdbook, all one word, .com. My email is also Jaclyn at the-herdbook.com, same as it is with the website. And then also you can find myself or my company on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. I'm really easy to reach out to, and I kind of live part-time on my computer, so if there's anything I could ever do to help with, questions I could answer, commentary you want to share with me, I'm always open for it.
Right on. Well, Jaclyn, look forward to it, and we will talk to you again soon.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Casey.
Moving higher in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving higher, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving